Hey, my name is PolishLynx, and without any stopping, let's continue this irae. For it was vague, the sound of Shiro's constant gunfire was enough to make me understand what he was trying to do. He had no way of beating Kane, but he planned to hinder his movement to make up for it. It was the opposite idea of shooting the enemy commander. The horse was the real threat here, so the commander was using all her might to hold on to his reins. If she let go, the thing would turn to nothing more than a corpse, a puppet.
それまで持たせないとな。
I'd wait for an opening and attack with all I had. Since I had to focus on my actions just as much as she had to focus on controlling that monster. And the more she did, the more the fruits of Shiro's plan would start to work. Tubal Kane looked at me from behind that soulless mask. I stared back at the giant and... I sprinted with enough force to kick off the floor, and shot forward like a cannonball. I could do this. I doubted I'd lose to this giant in terms of speed. If I could close the distance between us all at once, I might get lucky and decapitate him in one slash. I finished forming a weapon in a second, and swooped my guillotine off her right arm down on the giant. And later, I felt the sensation of decapitation passing through my arm. I was partly sure I'd won, but... I was once again blown away by the lightning generated around Kane, and that was not all. Kane dashed after me, practically at the speed of lightning. To think he was faster than me with that huge hulking body and long weapon. I was shocked, but it only lasted a moment. I resolved myself that I wouldn't retreat. If I took a step back, I'd just be cut down, and if I dodged, Kane would blow away all those people standing behind me. My only choice was to meet him head-on. Kane swung his giant lump of iron down, which I blocked with the guillotine in my right arm. I felt like I heard Mary scream at the same time. It was already a miracle that my weapon didn't crack against such mass speed and power. Though I avoided getting chopped in half, I felt the whole impact of that attack. The floor cracked around me, boring a crater into the ground. It felt intense enough to make me think that my spine... I wanted to say spina. My spine had snapped and shot right out of my body. And the lightning that bastard's weapon gave off with each slash was powerful beyond belief. It was not like that sword of fire Sakurai wielded. Don't we have some power in our guillotine as well? My opponent's range of attack was not limited to the length of his great sword. It was too dangerous to lock blades with this dead freak. At the very least, I didn't feel confident I could last on the defensive. So, I had to take the offensive. I just kept hacking away at him, not giving the freak a chance to swing his sword. I avoided the monstrous strength pushing against my blade, and twisted myself to dodge. A roar loud enough to crack the whole very floor open echoed across the hall as I used the lingering shockwaves to jump over Kane. I could do it. This time I would take this monster's head. He couldn't see me. I was confident I could win, however... Yeah. The next lightning strike managed to hit me in midair. The high voltage caused my limbs to twitch, boiled my blood, and made me feel like my insides were being torn apart. I flew head over heels and crashed to the floor as blood literally gushed out of me. I couldn't breathe, blood was pouring out of my eyes, and my clothes were torn off and charred. Had I been a normal human, I would have been cut to pieces without a single bone left of me. But rather than those wounds, I was more pissed off by my own stupidity. For I'd known that freak's traits, I'd stupidly forgotten all about them in the presence of his overwhelming pressure. Kane was a corpse. A feint meant nothing to a machine like him. Trying to get into his blind spot was pointless when his controller could see me. That's right. Kane had 360-degree vision as long as she could see me, and since the thing was a corpse, he could possibly perform feats impossible for the human body, superpowered or not. Kane then swung his weapon, and that alone a full 180 degrees without turning around, as if to endorse that theory. I dodged on instinct, but it moved down the area above my head, shattering the seats and people behind me into smithereens, blowing them away. Blood and chunks of meat scattered behind me. My vision was blurred, not by intense pain wrecking my whole body, but by fury. That thing had probably killed another 100 or so people with that attack. Just how many would he kill before he was satisfied? I didn't care if this was a den of criminals. They most certainly deserved to be massacred by a monster like Cain. Tubal Cain turned to face me right as I gritted my teeth and stood up. This dead freak didn't even need a fraction of his power to pull off something like turning his joints around to slash right behind himself. But even so, I'd be damned if I lost. At the very least, the freak had yet to land a single blow on me. I wouldn't be satisfied until I made sure this masked dead freak stayed dead for good. He was fast and powerful enough that not even Sister Lisa, the one controlling him, could predict his movements. The most efficient attack for me at the moment was... I took a deep breath and fell into a crouch. Pulling back my right hand, I assumed a fighting stance. That idea came easily to me, no doubt thanks to having Candomaniac for a childhood friend. If I was going to the fastest slash possible, I had but one choice. AI slash. That was the only way. I'd be trying to imitate something I'd merely seen on this spot, not to mention the shape of my weapon was irregular. Still, the basic principle must have remained the same. There was little variety in stances when the idea was to turn your whole body into something akin to a cannon and launch your blade like a cannonball. A turnabout death blow. A double-edged sword that would end fatally for me if I missed. But it was the only way. Cain silently raised his lump of iron, perhaps his I had caught onto my plan. It wouldn't be slash versus slash. No, he would probably try to zap me again. His lightning blade, far faster than the speeding bullet, was about to fall upon me. So I focused my mind, stilled my heart and slowed down the seconds. A moment became a second became minutes. I should have been used to that idea. Having been through for roughly forced into a corner, I would surpass the speed of lightning itself, a ridiculous fate when no one thought about it, but unless I accomplished just that, I would be getting nowhere. The screams and gunfire around me completely vanished. Within that silence, Cain and I faced off against each other. As I held on to my desperate concentration, I waited for the next moment in the divided light and darkness. Faster, 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 faster. I had to soar faster than anyone in order to claim the freak's head. Cain's tremendous body tilted forward slightly. I drew my guillotine off her right arm at the same time. At that moment, similarly unusual and unpredictable phenomenon occurred. And that is? A dark veil suddenly struck the floor. The lights went out all at once, shrouding the room in darkness. That was definitely no accident. The enemy had a brain on them too. It was a two-stage tactic. They would use the resulting darkness not only to blind Lisa, Cain's controller, but to launch their attack as well. Having figured that out, Kay swung her sword in an arc right after the lights went out. The air she cut through was dyed reddish gold, making the center of the floor erupt into scarlet flames. With light having been returned, Kay scanned the floor and made sure to confirm how the battle had progressed. Perfect. Barely any time had passed. In fact, it was Ren and not Cain, whose movements had been thrown off the most by the sudden loss of light. He would soon perish. Though they hadn't gotten long, Kay still felt a slight tinge of pity for the end of a boy she'd gotten to know a little, but her thoughts turned to what would come after his death. You really think it will happen? It will end like that, right? No, please no. I mean... Okay, maybe I did some bad choices. Who knows? She would witness the opening of a swastika for a third time and see the end of her rival. As such, they would have no choice but to enact large-scale massacre in order to open the remaining 5. She felt annoyed by the unpleasant work that would mean for her in the future. But it was only logical to kill your enemies when you had the chance. Candies are much more of realists and rationalists compared to the fun-loving Wilhelm and Rusalka. And so...
Sayonara, Fujika.
You know, when they say that, I'm pretty sure they are basically not really believing you can do something. So they basically are underestimating you. This is your moment, man. Right, as two of them coincidentally utter those parting words at the same time.
だから舐めるなっつってんだろ。
Thank you. That siren voice brought Kate back to reality. She quickly looked back to where Shiro had been just a short while ago, but
いない
she'd lost sight of Shirayusa. Did he flee? No, that wasn't it. Perhaps she'd been wrong to dismiss it as worthless, but the dropping of the lie had just been decoy, and their true goal was what came after.
ためのやつに言いたかねえけど、若いな、お前。
優等生は意外にちょっとつ盲信型なのよ。
She caught sight of the two of them mocking her as they pressed their muzzles side by side in the direction. Kate couldn't understand what they were thinking. What good would shooting do? 2 bullets were no more effective against them than 1, and she could easily deflect them at this distance. Even if it did happen to hit her, it wouldn't cause significant damage. It was completely pointless, but then how would one explain those confident smirks?
ヴィルヘルムのコスプレでもしろ。
2 bullets shot forward with the overlapping gunfire. Kay could see their trajectory perfectly, but they weren't aimed at either her or Lisa. In that case, could they have been? By the time realization dawned on Kay, it was already too late. The sound of an explosion, far more meager compared to Kane's attack, echoed across the hall. The bullets passed right by Kay, destroying a fire extinguisher on the stage. She used the blade of her sword to deflect the fire extinguisher, jumping above with the force of barrel. However, her enemies were not after that, but rather the dispersal of the foam inside. In other words,
しまった
her line of sight became a milky white haze. She couldn't see at all, for it was impossible for her to wipe out the smoke screen with exposed fire and the swing of her sword. It would have required concentration and time. Kay could tell Lisa was growing impatient behind her. That was more than enough to tell Kay that Kane was now nothing more than a puppet the older woman had lost control of. Kay's whole body was then stamped with chills and shivers. He would die. He was going to die again. No. She couldn't bear losing him again. Her fear and impatience shot past her limits, making Kay lunge forward instantly. Kay turned into a raging hurricane as she made off towards the two, breaking through the smoke screen. She wouldn't let him die. She'd be damned if she did. She would never, ever allow him to be broken even further. Murderers in front of Lisa, as well as the obstruction of a comrade's hunt through distraction. Kay didn't hesitate at all to take those actions. Actions that would break their oath. To be accurate, she'd completely forgotten about it. She simply dashed forward, as fast as she possibly could, in order to save him, to keep him from dying. After that brief moment, lasting not even a second, filled with thoughts and running, Kay beheld the worst possible outcome. The illumination birthed by the clash of blade and thunderbolt made me stumble forward. Only had I been so focused that I forgot and sure I was planning something, I wasn't far-sighted enough to be able to adapt to suddenly losing my vision either. Achieving composed and ever-searing mind was no easy feat. Until a short while ago, I'd been no more than an everyday student. There was no way I would have been able to keep my cool after being so abruptly robbed of my sight. A series of floor-shaking tremors and bursts of exploded fire put an end to my confusion. That was likely Sakura doing. Whatever she had done gave me an momentary flash of vision. I couldn't move an inch. That momentary hesitation brought a swift end to my perfectly timed plan. His lightning foot fell upon and pierced me through, just as I yielded to Kane's overwhelming pressure and envisioned that hopelessly inevitable outcome. Gunfire rang out again, soon followed by the sound of a small-scale explosion. For some reason, Kane's presence vanished as a result, or rather, it felt more like the giant was bewildered and impatient, as if he had lost sight of my position. Maybe Strelsa couldn't see me right now. My expression turned to conviction a moment later. The lightning strike that should have hit and blown me away ended up passing right by me. I had no idea what just happened. None of that mattered, for what did matter was that my opponent had just missed and target would have otherwise been fatal. Regardless of what brought it about, this was my chance. I would have been an idiot for not taking advantage of it. I sprung my arms forward and sped up, my body's muscles in sync. I raised my blade with all my might as fast as I could and moved to slice the giant before me in two. My target was deep head. That was the only way. I didn't know if I could kill a corpse twice, but I baselessly believed that this decapitating blade married wealthy could kill and target guys what the rules of logic dictated. It was like that belief that was acting as the driving force behind manifesting my nervous power to its peak. As long as I believed that, this guillotine could cut down whatever stood in its path, be it human or monster. Kane turned around. I couldn't tell if it was a random duck, or if this dead freak possessed the base ability to insert me by himself, but either way I was faster. I jumped up as if to land on the swinging lump of iron, then launched down on the giant's completely defenseless and exposed neck. But something unbelievable happened a moment later. Kane headbutted the blade, swinging it towards his neck. I didn't know how strong the bastard's mask, that is, Strelisa's Achnerbe was, but my blade swing went way off mark from that superhuman counterattack. As a result, I missed and ended up cutting from Kane's left shoulder blade to his right lung. That would be fatal wound for sure to a normal opponent, but it didn't look like it had much of an effect on the freak. In other words, it was a misfire. My all-or-nothing attack had been completely wasted. Yet it wasn't bitterness or regret I felt, but something else entirely.
こいつ今自分で動いたのか
That last counterattack was on a different level altogether. He deliberately attacked the offset, the slash heading right for him, and he actually used his mask to deflect it. A mere puppet couldn't have pulled it off. What in the world was this thing? Tubal Kane casually turned around with no hit to the diagonal wound in his body. Not even a drop of blood poured from the wound, and he clearly didn't feel any pain. So he hit the body of a corpse no matter how you spun it. Despite that, he moved precisely even when he was cut off from Sister Lisa's proper commands. Eh? The corpse that remained stunned up until then began to speak. It was a dark, gear-like, creaking black that lacked any meaning, more reminiscent of the rumble of a motor than a genuine human voice. However, that eerie enumeration of sounds, hardly even worthy to be called a voice, made my entire body freeze up. I wanted him to stop. I didn't want to hear another syllable uttered by that voice. The dead giant's voice alone was enough to instill a sort of madness in the living. Wow. His whole loud as roaring thunder completely blew my fighting spirit into smithereens. Lisa quietly clicked her tongue when she heard Kane's war cry. It appeared that his true nature, one that she wanted to keep hidden, was getting dangerously close to being revealed. That was dangerous, and not just because it would make him harder to control. Lisa could not afford letting anyone learn that Kane possessed a side like that to him. So basically he's a berserk, and by that I obviously mean on the battlefield he's attacking everyone around, be it fiend or foe. And if worst came to worst, if the Divine Vessel or Samuel ever find out, they'd likely demolish everything. Same went for that girl, though in a different way. She cut through the smokescreen of foam and chased after the girl a second behind. She couldn't have been allowed to see that. If she did, then she'd surely... But it was too late. Kay was already watching. She stood frozen and dumbfounded, muttering to herself like her mind was somewhere else. Yes, you can, I guess. Anger welled up within Kay a moment later. It seemed she was more fixated on Kane's wound than his maddened drawers. For Lisa hesitated to call it a silver lining. She had nothing to worry about if that was the thing that had Kay bothered. Kane wouldn't break that easily. She was about to say that, but for some reason she couldn't. He was a dead puppet. Even if his arms were chopped off, his legs vanished, or if his chest was filled with holes, that monster was a lump of flesh that could keep moving as long as she, the controller, remained in good health. As such, there was nothing to worry about. That wound could barely even be called a cut. It's time to say all of that, even parted her lips a few times, but ultimately she couldn't. Inevitably, she could do nothing to stop that impending instrument of destruction. Kane swung down his lump of iron with all his might. unleashing a burst of deadly lightning, rivaling that of Indra himself, eclipsing all of his prior attacks in terms of ferocity. His strike was powerful enough to blow away everyone still alive in this place. Not only Ren, Shiro and Eddie, but even Kay and Lisa as well. The flash of lightning burned to my eyes, blinding me. The scope of Kane's raging lightning strike dwarfed all others that came before. Even I would have been torn to shreds had I taken a direct hit from it. I knew that, all too well, yet in spite of that I couldn't bring myself to move an inch. Rather than being frozen by the sheer magnitude of that unparalleled destructive power, it was more like I was curious by this freak's existence itself. I'd be seeing pearly gates in my near future if this kept up. For some reason, Sakurai cut in between us. That was what saved me. The floor shook with a tremendous sound, splitting apart along with the walls, while I found myself blown back 2 or so meters. As the echoes of the attack continued to roar, I saw something fall to my feet. It was Sakurai. Needless to say, she was all battered and wounded from Kane's attack. Even she would have been blown to bits had she taken a direct hit. Nonetheless, she seemed to have evaded that outcome by a hair's breadth, stopping the blow a split second before it would have dealt a fatal wound. She still suffered severe injuries, but her life was seemingly spared. More importantly for...
お前どうして
I had doubted she was aiming to save me, in which case, could she have been trying to rein the Berserk Kane? That last attack unleashed all his power. From what I could tell, releasing that volume of destructive force must have taken quite a toll on him. There was also the wound I inflicted on him to consider. In that state, it would have been hardly surprising to see his body crumble apart from the power of his own lightning. When I thought of it that way, Sakurai's actions became more comprehensible. But why would someone like her, who had always been so cool-headed when dealing with Vulcan Rusalka, risk her life to that extent? And for that monster's sake, no less. Whoa. All those thoughts were abruptly drowned out by the intense pain flaring up in my neck. The air grew heavy and stagnant as an indescribable kind of unease filled the room. What was that?
どうやら3つ目のスバスチカが開いたようね。
What? I could vaguely make out Sister Lisa across the dust shrouding the room. Right next to her stood Kane, having returned to being a speechless statue. The opening of this swastika meant that many had died. That last attack, as well as the battle up to that point, must have passed the necessary death quota.
安心しなさい。今夜はもう帰るから。それで藤井君、こんなことを頼める義理でもないのだけど。
For I was gritting my teeth in rage and bitterness, still ignored it all. There was a twinge of pain in her voice. Perhaps she too had been wounded.
レオンを、その子のことをよろしくお願い。難しい性格だけど、根は悪い子でもないはずだから。
待て。
じゃあ、さようなら。心配しなくても、私たちはもうあなたの前に現れないわ。これで仕事は終わったのよ。
You've got to be kidding me. Right, which drink should I take for the next one? Anyway. I screamed and stretched my hand out, but I couldn't reach her. My legs and hips, still suffering the after effects of the lightning, wouldn't let me stand. I would let her stay. Do not leave. I was begging her. She and Himuro were.
ごめんなさい。でも、許してなんて言えないわね。
Let's go.
願わくは、あなたも生きて、死なないで。
A jet black curtain blanketed my vision at that moment. The black cloth attached to Kane's mask spread out, covering the whole floor, drowning everything out.
Oh.
A month later, my sight returned, revealing that Sister Lisa and Kane were nowhere to be found. In addition, all these blood, chunks of meat, and mountains of corpses had vanished without a trace. It was just like that night, the way Rusalka raised a mutilated body without a trace the night I met her. Will and Sakurai. In other words,
食ったか。来る時も帰る時も派手だな。おい。
白。
he lived through that explosion?
でもまあ、とりあえずこの場は命拾ったね。正直しょっぱなからデタラメなの来すぎっつうか。どうなのさ、これ。
Yeah. Honjo, she survived as well?
で、立てるかレン。見るからにひでえけど、死んじまうほどでもねえんだろ。
I couldn't stand right now, but my injuries weren't life-threatening. I don't know how these two got away, but other than being covered in dust from head to toe, they didn't seem to be wounded. But then I remembered something.
白、お前な。
なんだよ。
涼しい顔して笑ってんじゃねえよ。お前がいきなり照明なんか消したおかげで、こっちは危うく死にかけたぞ。
ああ、それやったの私。
ちなみに、俺の発案な。
だからそういうことじゃなくてだな。
I was about to tell him that he should have given me heads up or show a bit more concern but stopped myself, and if I told him would have gone in one ear and out the other anyway.
ま、生きてたんだからいいじゃんよ。
ああ、おかげさまでな。
I leaned against the wall and somehow managed to stand up as anger welled within me. The crowds of people here just a while ago were all gone, leaving no one but me and these guys. Some probably got away, but everyone who saw what happened had been wiped out. I couldn't help but feel bitter at that.
俺がここにいたからとか、つまんないこと考えちゃダメよ。あちらさんはこの場所に用があったわけだから、あたしらやレン君がいようがいまいが、こうなっちゃってたわけなのよ。
ま、後悔しても仕方ねえしな。
True to that.
ほんとよく言うよね、あんたって。
Ouch. Guess I'm heartless as well. Sure, and Honjo said that as if they could tell what I'd been feeling. They might have been right, but I couldn't simply write off the whole thing.
とにかく、こういう時は悪者の退治に意識を向けるのが前向きな姿勢ってやつでしょ。そういうわけで、一つ問題。
Honjo pointed a finger and looked at me. I was hoping it would just my imagination, but it looked like I couldn't laugh this off.
これ、どうするよ。
It went without saying that she was pointing at Sakurai, still unconscious on the floor. That was indeed the problem. The problem, in fact. I felt like we'd been left with a rabid dog or something.
ぶっ殺せよ、レン。俺の仲間の仇だぜ。
Sorry about that.
とバカは言ってるわけだけど。
Yeah, I agree. We can't do anything to her. After thinking everything through, she's not that bad. I mean, that's my point of view now. I mean, she taught us stuff about, well, the powers and so on. So yeah, okay, it's cool. Not like other girls cool, but she's cool. So Lisa definitely broke in my list. And I think basically case over her from now on. Alright, never mind.
真面目な話、連中がどうやら死ぬのかってことに興味がある。
Ah, disgusting. Sorry. But the drink I got, disgusting. Truly, it's not orange at all.
おい。
I instinctively rebooted that turbulent statement, but I could see where Shiro was coming from. I had to keep fighting those monsters from now on. I had Mari as means to do that, but these two had no way of beating them. However,
人体実験でもしようってのかよ。趣味悪いぞお前。
I didn't want to do or see the kind of stuff Rusanka got up to. Shiro let out an sprayed the sneaker as he saw my reaction.
まあな、お前はそう言うだろうな。 傷んでるやつに甘いっつうか、フェアプレー精神の人だから。
あんたの頭も相当傷んでる領域だと思うけど。
Thanks, I guess.
お前、そりゃ、なんつうか、どうなんだよ。
どんなもこんなもあるかよ。
These guys were idiots. They seriously went back to their normal selves, right after the bloodshed ended. And the way trying to go along with them was a waste of time. I had to think about how to deal with this situation.
とりあえず、ここで桜井を確保できたのは運がいいと。そう思う。
Called naive, but killing someone wounded and defenseless was too low for me, and seeing how I couldn't bring myself to do that, I had only one option available. After all, there was still much we didn't know.
捕まえて捕虜にしよう。こいつには聞きたいこともあるし。
I knew it.
へえ。
No, no weird thoughts.
なんだよ。
What was up with those two? And with their mocking looks they were giving me.
お前さ、こいつのおかげで命拾いしたから、交換とか持っちゃってるわけ？
No.
そんなわけないだろ。むしろ苦手だ、こいつのことは。
Yeah.
それはまた微妙な評価を。
Can you stop implying stuff? I really wish you just shut up and leave me alone.
誤解がないように言っとくけど、俺はこいつと仲良くなんかないからな。最初っからどうも馬が合わないんだよ、桜井とは。
Which was exactly why I couldn't deal with her. She didn't seem like the type I could get along with. I knew those words were illogical and not much of an explanation, but that was what I said. Sure, waved his hands, as if to say, Yeah, I get it.
ま、お前が得意な相手なんて、バカスミくらいしかいねえしな。
Guess so.
オーケー。俺は別に構わんよ。シャレでからかっただけだ。そう怒んな。てなわけで、おいエリー。
ああ、はいはい。わかってるよ。
Honjo gave a sluggish reply before sitting next to Sakurai. Personality aside, she was still the daughter of doctors, and probably had at least basic knowledge in first aid treatment.
悪いけど、任せる。
But the lights in the hall went out just as I said that, wrapping the place in darkness. After a bit, Shiro lit up the surroundings with the flame of his lighter.
なんだ？停電かよ。
さっきの戦闘で電気系統のどっかが行かれたのかも。
おい、大丈夫なのか？
まあ大丈夫だと思うけど、詳しいことは調べてみないとわかんないね。そんなことより、とりあえずこの子の治療する方が優先だと思うけど。
She was right. There was no way to treat Sakurai properly in complete darkness.
じゃ、まずは場所を変えよっか。あんたたち、この子を運びな。
Shiro and I followed Honjo's orders and carried Sakurai to a VIP room.
これでいいかな。あんたたち、もう入ってきてもいいよ。
Thanks, Annie, but we will appear in the next episode, so for now, hope you all enjoyed this and see you tomorrow. Bye bye. God damn it, this juice is disgusting. Alright, I need to remember to never buy it again. Okay, see you tomorrow. Yeah, bye.